Hey guys, Purple Photographer here and welcome back to my channel for another weekly video. So I wanted to start from the very beginning and talk about when I first chose photography as a GCSE choice when I was still at high school. So at the age of 14, when you had to choose your GCSE choices, photography was always my first choice because back then I always saw myself becoming a photographer from a younger age. Even though my career paths changed because I used to want to be an author before that. I don't actually remember what got me thinking that I wanted to be a photographer, but for some reason I just did. I remember being so excited when it was available as a GCSE choice, so I jumped straight in at the deep end and just applied to it and got in the class, and that's when it all first started for me. So when Year 10 first started, it was quite exciting as we got the opportunity to try out new subjects other than just maths and English. When we first started, it was all fantastic. We got introduced to new cameras, what the school already had, and my dad bought me my first camera, which was a Canon 1100D or something like that, just one of the really basic DSLRs. And I was so excited to be first starting out in my photography career. Back then I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like I said, it was just an experimental stage as I was just starting out with me only being 15 at the time, so it was quite exhilarating to be going out on all these field trips to these botanical gardens and shooting all these pretty flowers, learning about macro photography. And then as the year went on, it got to my attention that the rest of the class weren't as interested as some of us were with photography. It just seemed like most of them were there because they thought that the class would just be taking pictures, when in reality it's so much more than that. So what most people don't realise is that when you start photography as an education choice, it is much more than just taking photos. There is a lot to learn if you want to pursue this professionally or even just become a pro at it. So what photography involves is a lot of research, and you have to research different photographers, different techniques, do your own test shoots to come up with before you hand in your final stuff. So a lot of people didn't like this and they started to get very disruptive. And what I didn't realise is that the teacher who we actually had for photography was one of the school's PE teachers, and he had passed photography at GCSE level, and that was his only photography qualification. So in my eyes, he wasn't really qualified to be teaching a class of 15, 16-year-olds photography at that level. Yeah, so having him teaching us really bugged me, and even at the end of it, I realised that when I was speaking to all my friends when we got our final grades for the year, although it was in Year 10, he gave every single one of us in the class just a C grade. No one failed, no one got above a C grade. Everyone in the class got a C, even if you hadn't done that great, which I know some of them hadn't because I've been watching them. Now, I wasn't saying I was a fantastic photographer back then, or neither were my friends, but at least we tried, and some of them just really didn't, and to give us everyone in the class the same grade just really annoyed me. So it just made so much. It made me even reassess if I wanted to pursue that kind of career. So by the time Year 11 rolled around, it was time for a fresh start, and we found out that we had a brand new teacher. So she was from a photography background, and it was quite interesting when she began to show us her work, and she had so much more vast knowledge on photography as a subject itself than he did. It was just refreshing to know that someone actually cared about our education. So she introduced us to a wider variety of things. So she started to go through, talk about different compositional methods, so the golden circle, rule of thirds, those kind of things. So students at our level that could still understand, we weren't very technologically advanced because we were still using the cameras on fully automatic. But we started to get a little bit more grip on the actual camera settings themselves. So starting to slowly edge towards using the camera in manual, learning a tiny little about shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. So yeah, guys, my advice to you is if you're contemplating choosing photography as a GCSE choice, then don't be too concerned if you don't get in, and if you want to study a BTEC diploma. I'm not sure what they call them now. I think they changed all the names when I left college. That was like 3 years ago now. But yeah, if you're thinking of studying a level 3 diploma at your local college, then don't be disheartened if you don't have a GCSE to fall back on as one of your ways to get in there. You can also get in with a arts GCSE, so you can take in a portfolio of drawing or just some loose photography that you've done in your own time. But yeah, don't worry too much about if you don't take photography as a GCSE choice. So why I choose to do a diploma rather than A levels is because I knew diploma was an easier way of getting access to university after the 2 years was up. Whereas if you did A levels, then you'd also have to do a foundation course as well, which is an extra year out of your time. So it's just kind of a longer track. So A levels are subjects where you want to choose. You still want to study different subjects all at the same time. So if you do a maths A level and an arts A level and a photography A level, I'm not sure how much you could do because obviously I didn't do them. But a diploma was more if you knew what specialist subject you wanted to study already. So obviously I knew I wanted to either study ICT or photography. So when I got accepted onto the photography course at Doncaster College, it was a really exciting time for me. So it was a completely different atmosphere from school. First of all, you had to stop calling the teachers sir and miss, so that took a while to get used to. But also the work got increasingly harder because you started to get briefs on what classes different subjects and styles of photography. So that's when we first got introduced to film photography, and we learned to print our own darkroom black and white stuff and develop our own film from the 35mm cameras. And then they just talked more in depth about different styles of photography. So you got introduced to portraiture, documentary, fashion, because they had their own studio with lighting in it, so we got trained how to use the studio with very simple lighting techniques. And then they just sort of, with each brief, they just sort of let you experiment on your own to see how you develop. So I come from a background of doing just wildlife photography and a little bit of still life here and there, but nothing that really had a meaning behind it. They were just pretty pictures. So you also started to get a feel behind your work as you had to choose something that had a purpose. So like, why are you photographing this? And your photography got more emotionally attached to you as you developed throughout the 2 years. So my personal experience, I started to get really interested in the studio and having models in there. So I developed an interest in portraiture, but at the same time I was starting to get a little bit more experimental with my photography as I got better at Photoshop. So I got most of my Photoshop experience from magazines and YouTube tutorials, and I just practiced over and over again with my own personal work because as well as doing the briefs that college set us, I was also doing a couple of personal projects on the side, so I could start building my portfolio a little bit better. Because as a second year of photography, as the second year of college rolled around, you had to make a decision about whether you wanted to take your career further, as if you wanted to go to university. That was a big decision for me, as it meant mostly moving away from home. So I made up a professional looking portfolio with really high quality paper, because like I said in my university interview video, you have to have a really high quality portfolio if they want you to even, if you want them to even give you a second glance. So I spent probably just over £100 getting my portfolio printed. So that was the portfolio sleeve itself, paying for all the paper, paying to use the big printers that they have available at college. So I was taking advantage of all the equipment that I had available to me at the time. So it's really important that you take advantage of everything that your college is offering if that is what you happen to do and you choose to take a level 3 diploma. So I thought I could still experiment with different fields of photography as well as practicing my chosen field. And coming from like college actually prepares you for that, but not in a great detail. So you have all of your work, so your work has to really change if you want to impress your tutors, which is what I'm going to be talking about now. So you do 2 or 3 years at college and you've left, hooray! But then you come into the big bad world of student loans, living with other people you have absolutely no idea who they are, so just moving in with complete strangers. So I made a big decision to move 240 miles away from my native place of birth, and I chose a completely different part of the country, but the university was renowned for this particular course, as I'd heard really good things about it from ex-students. And obviously, like I mentioned before, I went to the UCAS fair and they were there at the time. So coming to university was a big decision for me, and the reason I chose to do commercial photography was because I thought that my ideas were more tailored towards commercial rather than fine art, because fine art photography still had a very deep meaning to its to the artist, and all their work was very personal. I mean, commercial and advertising and fashion, it's still personal to the person, but this course learns you about getting into the big bad world and how to earn money from your photography, which is also a very interesting point. So this course has it drives you more towards becoming a photographer at the end of it, but obviously there are other career options if you choose for whatever reason not to be a photographer like I have. So personally, I don't see myself becoming a world famous renowned photographer when I graduate in a couple of months. I personally wanted to go more in towards maybe becoming an art director, or going into the more just the ideas side of it. But coming to university is hard, guys, and you need the dedication to stick to your chosen course, as it demands a lot of hours of your work and your time. So choosing a full-time education at this point in time was a really big decision for me, as you don't really have time for a job or anything. Don't get me wrong, you still have time to socialise and make new friends and go out, but the work is still really important, as those grades will help you get on with your future. I'm not trying to scare anybody. This is just the reality. Oh, God, that's massive. But yeah, in all seriousness, it is a big deal coming to university. Like, it's not just a place to mess around and have fun with your friends. You do actually have to get on with the work sometimes, but yeah, have fun at the same time. I mean, you're in a completely different environment. It's the first, probably most of you, it's the first time away from your parents. Yeah, university was great, but it's not for everybody. So you don't particularly have to come to university if you want to be have a career in the arts. Just having a diploma, some employers won't mind, or if you feel that your skills are developed enough from just doing either A-level or diploma, then that's fine. Just roll with that. University's not for everybody. But yeah, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you really enjoyed that. I know I've droned on for a little bit, but I just think it was a bit informative that I'd let you know about my personal opinion on taking arts as a subject in education. Some people do frown upon it, but just don't listen to anybody else but yourself. If you want to do arts, you do arts. You be you. You be creative, as the world always needs creatives, and they make it a brighter place. So yeah, guys, if you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to be first in seeing next week's video. And with that, I'll see you next week. Bye!